Assalamualaikum and very good morning. My name is Nurulillah binti Abdulaziz. I'm a 4th year student of PMFG, and this semester I'm taking a final project too, which is my supervisor is Dr. Nurazwa binti Umar Yusof, and the title of my project is a study on system dynamic approach in Malaysian automotive industry for remanufacturing model application. So basically, my project is focused on automotive industry in Malaysia, and we know that it plays a significant role in transforming the Malaysia into the industrial nations. Each product has its own life cycle stage, which is from the introduction, growth, maturity, and declines. And after declines, the product is called as an end of life product. So in automotive, it is called as ELV, which is will create the hazardous waste and the toxic emissions. So what is remanufacturing? Remanufacturing is a process that returns a used product to at least its original forms. My problem statement is remanufacturing in Malaysia is considered as a new strategy to overcome the environmental sustainable problem, especially for automotive industry. And the automotive industry is still use the reuse, recycle, and reduce in order to manage the ELV problems. We know that the ELV vehicles will contribute to the hazardous waste and toxic emissions, and uh, the main problem is how to manage the ELV problems. The objective of this project is to study the system dynamic approach in Malaysian automotive industry for remanufacturing model application. Second, to identify the effectiveness of remanufacturing system in Malaysian automotive industry. And third is to develop a theoretical framework to be applied in basic software for modeling simulation. And literature review, we focus on the automotive industry in Malaysia, about the ELV, about the remanufacturing, about the national automotive policies, and the system dynamic approach. For automotive industry in Malaysia, we know that the production of vehicles has shown a large increase every year. So, the automotive is manufacturer in Malaysia is still prefer a new parts to use the new parts in their products, even though they know it was possible to replace the worn and the damaged part with the recovered component. In this system, we create the ELV problem because we know that every product have an end of life vehicles. So that's why we suggest to use the remanufacturing system, which is this is the process of bringing the end of life products back to good as new. This figure shows the terminology related to remanufacturing, which is repair, remanufacturing, refurbish or rebuildings, overhaul, and reconditioning. By this remanufacturing system has been mentioned in NAP, which is the National Automotive Policies in 2009, 2014, and 2020. It support this my research, and in order to use the remanufacturing system and to show how effectiveness of this system, we use the system dynamic approach because it can be implemented through the identification of the problem, development of the hypothesis, building a simulation, and testing of the model that's same as a real life. The example is show the system dynamic software used, which is the stock and flow diagram that use this benzene software. This is a flowchart of my project. This is flowchart for my FYP1, and this is flowchart for my FYP2. For FYP2, basically I decide to make overall of this project. I focus on the literature review for the case study, for the journal, and the article that are related to manufacturing in Malaysia. So on the research on the case study, based on the first first methodology, I decided to focus on the automotive industry in Malaysia, about the ELV system, about the remanufacturing, about the NIP, which is National Automotive Policies, and next is about the system dynamic approach, which is use the Vensim software. For the second methodology, we make a research on a case study that have been done in Malaysia, which is the articles that related to any remanufacturing system in Malaysia, whether in automotive parts and or other that related to other issues, but related to remanufacturing. And this is example of the research on case study that have been done in MTI Rawang by Aimee Hassan in 2013. The remanufacturing product is about the marine generator, and the problem is defect on the crankshaft. So after the remanufacturing, the crankshaft can be used as usual, because the 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 product is same as a new product. And after the data have been collected, we decide to develop a theoretical framework by using the Vensim software. Why we use the Vensim software is because the Vensim is more flexible than most of the appearance of the model diagram. This is an example of the simple modeling. For the result and discussion, we have collected the articles that related to remanufacturing by year. We know that from this graph, we know that 2014 has the highest article that related to remanufacturing, because it have mentioned in the NIP 2014, and the manufacturer in Malaysia and company in Malaysia start to familiar with it, but at 2017 until now in 2020 and 2021, the articles is become more and more and become increased, because the all the manufacturer company in Malaysia has become know about the remanufacturing and know the benefit of the remanufacturing, in order to tackle the ELV problem and reduce the cost. And this show the number at the right side, show the number of remanufacturing articles that by issues, which we know that automotive is the highest articles, because basically in NIP 2020 is mentioned about the remanufacturing in automotive industry more details. And the second highest is management, which is, but it's also has some related, which is the management about the automotive industry, because it is discussed about the management of ELV waste in Malaysia. Next, after that, we discuss and analyze about the remanufacturing company in Malaysia. There are 34 companies that registered under the Repair, Reuse, Remanufacturing Service and Spare Part, which is 4R2S, and mostly is located in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Johor, Pulau Pinang and Sabah. Mostly this company are manufactured spare part of vehicles such as the engine, plastic parts and any parts that easily can be remanufactured. After this data that have been collected, I suggest a theoretical framework that using the Vensim software, a simple theoretical framework to show the remanufacturing capacity of the product after it's remanufactured. And from the defect part and ELV waste, we collect the product, and after that we assemble the product, and we collect and analyze which product should be rejected and which product should be accepted. For rejected product, we is known as a disposal product, which is has become waste, and for the accepted product we know as a reusable product, and it can be remanufactured, and after remanufactured, it is called it is become the remanufactured capacity. For this theoretical framework, this is graph showing the results of the remanufacturing capacity by the 12 months. Okay, in this statistic, we show that for 1 month, we collect about the, well, in a day, we collect about the same. As example, there are hundreds of parts, and one of 10 parts cannot be remanufactured, and 9 of 10 parts can be remanufactured. So at end by of the year, we know that the remanufacturing capacity is become high, and the graph show the increasing of remanufacturing by the months, but at the end of the years, and uh, they show that the and they show that this remanufacturing is acceptable. So as a conclusion, in order to reduce the ELV problem, the remanufacturing system can be used, because mostly in Malaysia there are 34 companies that register under remanufacturing company, but there are some other company that are not registered yet, but still they already use the remanufacturing system. From the theoretical framework and the result from the theoretical framework, um, it can solve the ELV problems with we know that it can reduce the time while it save the cost to manufacture a new product um, of the parts, and besides it can save cost, which is we don't need a new material to produce a new parts. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.